Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the monthly town meeting for the town of Forest Heights. Today's date is May 17th, 2023, and the time is 8:01. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. We have Councilmember Hines. Councilmember Kennedy II.
Here.
Councilmember Browson.
Here.
Councilmember McDonald.
Here.
Councilmember Hines.
Present.
Mayor Lilly.
Present, ma'am.
We have a quorum.
Madam Clerk, can you call the roll again for Councilmember Hines? Councilmember Noble, please.
Oh, she didn't. Councilmember Noble. Councilmember Noble.
Here.
Next, we will have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Next, we will have the approval of the meeting agenda for tonight. And I would like to move that we amend tonight's agenda, striking the vacancy for Ward 1 in the roll call. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are amending the agenda to strike vacancy Ward 1 from the roll call.
Okay, but I would like to add some other comments about the agenda.
What's the motion you would like to make, Councilmember?
For acting mayor, you are, Troy Lilly is acting mayor, and he is the council president, and he is the Ward 1 council person. He's not just acting mayor, because if he was just acting mayor, then there would be a vacancy in Ward 1, and there's not a vacancy in Ward 1.
Mr. Best, can you opine on this particular item, sir?
Yes, sir, Mr. Acting Mayor. The councilwoman's correct. You were elected to serve as the council president, having been elected by the people as a councilman in Ward 1. Now you're acting mayor pending the special election. So you ex officially occupy all those positions.
Thank you, Mr. Best.
You're welcome.
So I move that we strike the words vacancy, replace that with Council President Troy Lilly, and approve the agenda as amended. All in favor of striking vacancy and replacing that with Council President in the agenda under roll call, signify by.
Place the Ward 1 with councilperson Troy. And then up there, you are the acting mayor and council president. Okay. So you're still a Ward 1 council person.
That's precisely what I'm proposing. We are only changing the wording where it says vacancy under Ward 1 to say Council President Lilly.
Okay.
All in favor of amending the agenda to replace the words vacancy with Council President Lilly, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. The ayes have it.
I move that we approve the agenda as amended. All in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion adopted. Next, we will have a Cree Drive project update from Mr. John O'Connor, the ARPA program manager. Mr. O'Connor?
Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor and Council. The Cree Drive project, I came in on the tail end of the work that had been started previously. However, the Cree Drive project is a multi-fiscal year, multi-phased project for the revetment and replacement of stormwater management and the roadway on Cree Drive. The first phase, which has already been completed and paid for, was the repaving and curbage, as well as some curtains for the driveway and some asphalt patching. This was done to set the stage for stormwater management due to the stormwater management complaints that have been received on the road, basically laying a solid foundation for phase two. Phase two is a unfunded phase at this point. It requires a funding source, a grant or capital bonds to go ahead and move forward. But phase two is lined out as stormwater management. Going along Cree Drive, several homes are having stormwater management issues in their backyards, which are then running out onto Cree Drive. In particular, one address that was highlighted in some of the notes was 15 Cree. So once phase two has funding and is able to move forward, it would go out to bid. Once those bids are awarded, then we would be able to start work on phase two, which is the stormwater management aspect.
Did you have anything else said? Mr. O'Connor, I had a question. I just didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, I was pausing because I saw you lean forward.
No, continue, sir.
Okay. So as of right now, as far as phase two is concerned, there is no 60 or 90-day plan until a funding source is actually allocated for phase two. Once phase two is completed, phase three can then be started, which is the culvert and pipe replacement, which would run under Maryland 210. That was the last and final portion of the entire Cree Drive project. Of course, once phase two is done, that's completed, then permits and applications would have to be sent to the State Highway Administration to be able to work within the right of way, and additional funding would have to be allocated to facilitate phase three. For phase two, a part of the stormwater management, you're looking anywhere on initial estimates from 550 to 950,000. And phase three is absolutely a seven-figure project due to the repairs that need to go under Highway 210 and the engineering that's going to be associated with it. So the original plan was FY23, phase one would be completed. FY24 funding would be sought for phase two. And then once that funding is there, the studies would begin, and then a budget amendment would be completed based on the available funding, and phase two would start. And then in FY25, we would hopefully see phase two ending and begin the next process for phase three, which would be finding the available funding.
No.
I have one question, Mr. O'Connor, because of the interruption. What was the dollar amount for phase two again?
Phase two could be anywhere from 550,000 to 950,000 on a very, very rough estimate. That's without including any engineering costs that may be associated with it.
Hello,
Council-
Council. This is Don McKenzie, the treasurer. Can I ask a question?
Mr. McKenzie, would you like to add comments on this particular matter?
Yes, I'm very interested in seeing the detail of this particular this project, because I want to see if possible, Mr. O'Connor, if you get a chance, you and I can sit down and we can go over just to see the funding, where you get it from, just the overall. I just want to see the structure of that particular stuff, because those fundings should be tracked, and I'm not so sure how it's tracked. I just wanted to see and just get a view of what's happening with those fundings, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. And to the funding point, the phase one was phased through some capital infrastructure bonds, ARPA funds, as well as set aside funds for roadway improvements from the town.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. I wanted to add one point, then I'm going to go to to Councilmember Noble to speak. Mr. McKenzie and Mr. O'Connor, I would really like to begin discussion about a capital improvement plan that identifies all capital projects and sets them out in a plan that ties into budget, fiscal year targets, so we can understand exactly what amounts we need to be looking for in the upcoming budgets, and we can begin planning for those, and also identify separately where funds have been spent or can be allocated currently to capital projects specifically.
And I also want to know what the balance is from based on the funding that the previous funding, what balances are there, if there is any, if you've spent over the over what was projected. I just wanted to know just so we can literally just to get
The
an
project
idea.
zeroed out, all funds were spent.
I just wanted to see if you have the time where we can sit down and go over the actual structure of how you spend it, what it was spent on, what was budgeted, how did you go over the budget in a certain area, so we can properly manage more efficiently in these projects when they come around. That's all.
No,
So we
absolutely.
can create more efficiency.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. Yeah. So to summarize that point, I would like the two of you to get together and have a meeting or discussion outside of this meeting, in between this one and the next regularly scheduled meeting, to begin those discussions and that information sharing. Councilmember Noble.
Yes, Mr. O'Connor. Just had a question on Creed. I know you said starting at 15 Creed Drive, but are we looking at those houses 1, 3, 11, 15? You know, I know we have some, probably more. We talk about 15 Creed, but we may have residents who haven't said anything, but that doesn't mean that they don't have an issue.
Yes, council member. In fact, the only way to attack this project or approach this project would be to look at it holistically for the entire length. You can't fix one stormwater management problem without going ahead and pushing that stormwater management problem to another. And that's why the varying range of the price of what this project would be is because we're actually going to have to go back and look at where the water flow is coming. To your point, we were out on Arapahoe Drive today doing a pre-bid. And one of the things, and with Public Works, and I've been out there with the chief, there's a lot of underground water flowing from supersaturated soil. And that is what a lot of the flooding that you're seeing is coming from that. And we're seeing that on Cree as well. So there's going to be some excavation that's going to happen and some coordination with the homeowners for the heavy equipment. But that entire stretch has to be taken care of.
And part two is for phase 3. With Maryland 210, would we partner with the state if we're, doing something with 210? I mean, for funding, or are they going to pay?
Well, best intentions would be to work with the state to have it placed within their actual capital budget for roadway improvements. And that's something that can be taken up when they do the roadway transportation tour or the Secretary of Transportation based on getting it in their capital project. If they don't put it in there and it's not a funding priority, we then have to shift gears and look at working in a partnership with them through capital infrastructure bonds. Or the other side is that they could fund it and we provide the actual work. So there's a couple different ways we can approach it. Best case is it ends up in the state's capital projects. Worst case is that we're looking at we're going to have to fix it in order to do what we need to do, and then kind of have a conversation with the state about it. That's worst case scenario.
Thank you.
It's okay. Any other questions on this item?
Yeah.
Councilmember Kennedy.
So actually, it's ironic because you asked quite a few of the questions that I was going to pose, because I did want to reiterate the fact that, as you said, the water is cascading under 210, but is affecting all of the homes at the top of Cree. It just happens to visibly show to the rest of Forest Heights when it comes out somewhere between 11 and 15 Cree Drive. And that's what I was trying to get everyone to understand when we started in the middle on the hill, that unless we fix where it's originating from, we could potentially throw away money. So that's gonna all be taken care of hopefully in phase 3, correct?
Phase 2 would be the homeowner stormwater management revetment. Phase 3 is Maryland 210.
Okay, so the houses on Cree would potentially fall under phase 2?
They do fall under phase 2. Yes.
Okay. That's gonna be interesting to see.
Yes, put an asterisk next to it as anything with construction projects and engineering. Things change based on the surveys that you get. However, the plan right now is to manage the stormwater there and then move back to 210. 210 is the biggest obstacle we're going to have working with the state. So if we can minimize the effects of the stormwater management and the flow and get it to a solid point where we're channeling the water, that's a positive outcome.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this item from council members? All right, hearing none. Next, we will move into the special election date consensus discussion. I also want to point out that after conferring with the town administrator and our town attorney, the dates range that we are looking at is different than previously discussed at our last meeting. The June 14th date does not satisfy charter requirements. It's not more than 45 days. It's actually less. So we would need to look at a date between June 16th and the end of June. So with that being the case, and after reviewing the fact that the council will be out of town for the MML conference, the Maryland Municipal League Conference, in the week following June 20th and the week prior does not satisfy requirements, I'm recommending that the council decides on the date of Tuesday, June the 20th. It will allow us to hold the election, to tally the results, and then to swear in our newly elected mayor on June 21st at our regularly scheduled town meeting the very next day. Is there any discussion? Open the floor to discussion for council members about the date. Councilmember Noble?
No, I think June 20th is a good day.
Any other discussion? Well, I move that we adopt Tuesday, June the 20th as the election date. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Tuesday, June the 20th will be the election date. Just one moment. I move that we amend the agenda to include public period. It appears that it's missing from this agenda. You see that? Yeah. Yeah, I upon closer inspection, I see the public period is missing from the agenda. So I move that we amend tonight's agenda to include public period before legislation. Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. At this time, any members of the public who are in the auditorium, if you would like to speak, provide public comment, please do so. You can come to the podium in the front, state your name and your address, and you will have 2 minutes to provide comments if you would like to. Is there anyone in the gallery who wishes to speak? Good evening, ma'am.
And I live at 5612 Delaware Drive. So this is the open forum, correct? I can ask questions of the council and state concerns.
Thank you,
that
ma'am.
right?
You could more than welcome to provide comment. We can't answer questions, but we will record your comments and I also would say if you have specific questions you'd like answered, please feel free to email the staff or myself and we'll get back to you. But in the public meeting, we can hear your comments.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
Back in 2019, I presented a petition from the residents of Delaware Drive asking for speed humps to be placed. And I believe it was approved. It was approved from Mayor Mohammed at that time. And she said it would be, I guess, established in the future. And of course, that didn't happen. And I did email the former mayor last year, and he stated that it was in the budget plan to move forward. Again, that was last year. So I'm just curious where we stand now with that petition and if it would move forward. So I did send an email to the former mayor. I didn't realize that he resigned. So do I send that email to you?
Yes, please.
Now?
Ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
please.
All right, I can do that. The second issue, over the past 2 days, I've noticed on my Ring floodlight camera that someone has been trying to enter my car in my personal driveway. So it's not only trespassing, but it's actually attempted robbery or probably attempted auto theft. So this happened this past Sunday as well as last night. And on both occasions, it was like 3:00 morning. I did make a report to Forest Heights Police Monday, and then I also made a report today. I was informed by PG County Police so that there could be patrols that could occur at 3:00 in the morning or in that time frame of my address as well as that street, because obviously it's a neighbor. It's someone close by because they keep walking back and forth. So it's someone in our neighborhood. And so I wanted to make that report.
Thank you, ma'am, for your comments.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Is there anyone else who would like to speak who's in the auditorium tonight? Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Shavanya Mile. I live at 106 South Huron Drive. I have a few concerns. We have put a brand new stop sign at the top of South Huron and Woodland. The stop the speeding is still happening. They're cutting the sign short, causing almost an accident this afternoon. So what is the rule about patrols and monitoring that street for speeding? And the second one is the wastewater management also on South Huron Drive between houses 102 on down is eroding the curb to the point where it's breaking apart. So that needs to be handled also. And then another issue of concern is I noticed that it's parking permits on Woodland for, I guess, cars that's not registered to the houses there. We have the same problem on South Huron. It's just overabundance of cars up and down the street. I'm handicapped. I can't park in front of my house because everybody takes up the parking spaces. Okay. And we also, what is the rule? I would like to know what's the rule for a car that sits in one place for a whole week? I noticed the last code enforcement, they said 72 hours, it has to be moved. This car been there for 2 weeks. So nothing's being done on that street of South Huron. So just need to bring those concerns up. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your comments. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else in the auditorium who would like to speak? Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just want to congratulate you as being the acting mayor. And everything that I know about you, you know, even the haters, they can't say, you know, you're not capable because you are. I mean, you know, I've seen that in you. So I appreciate it. And of course, I'm from 141 Onondaga Drive, the best ward in the town, Ward 3. Where my favorite councilwoman lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Madam Clerk, and Ms. White, is there anyone online who wishes to speak during public period?
No, sir.
Okay. I'm going to allow just another moment in case someone is coming off of mute. Okay, hearing none, public period is now closed. Thank you for your comments. There are a few items that were mentioned and notated. If the appropriate staff can get some of this information to me, or that we can share it with residents, if we have their contact information, that would be most appreciated. Next, we'll move into legislation. And first, we have Resolution 46-23, a resolution of the mayor and council of the town of Forest Heights, Maryland, accepting the resignation of Mayor Calvin Washington. I move that we adopt Resolution 46-23. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, discussion. What was that? Okay. Well, hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
We have Councilmember Browson,
Yes.
Councilmember McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy II,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
Mayor Lilly.
Yes.
Motion passed. 6 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we will have Resolution 47-23, a resolution to set forth and establish the town's real property tax rate for fiscal year 2024. I move that we adopt Resolution 47-23.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. I'm sorry. The ayes have it. Discussion.
Yeah, I wasn't here. Did y'all discuss this already last week?
Yes, we did, Council Member Noble,
Does
Councilmember
that mean
Brownson.
accept then the Maryland state tax rate and not raising the tax for, is this just for the residents, right?
This is for residential property and commercial property, I believe, as well, was lowered. Yes,
Commercial property, rental property.
yes.
So I wonder why did we have the same rate? I mean, for the rental property, I mean, for me, it just seems as that the rental property is almost like a business. And the people that rent the property are making money from that, but they're using our services. And if I look in the ward on the other side, most of the rental properties have like 4 and 5 trash cans. I mean, they're the ones more times than not, they have to have the code enforcer coming out. So they use a lot of our services, and I think that we should raise the rate for the rental properties. Residential rental properties. That's just my opinion. And we put it on the books a long time ago for that purpose.
Would you like to propose an amendment or a change to the rate for rental properties?
Yes, I would. And then she's gonna ask me about what, right?
Yes.
That's fine.
And I understand about the rental property, but I guess for me, because we're coming out of COVID, that some people who rent their properties, some people probably haven't paid rent and they may have they may have a hardship. They may not have a hardship.
But most of the rental property is from investors. And so I don't understand that rationale.
Well, investor still has a mortgage, and if someone's not paying their rent, then their mortgage is affected.
That's mine, yours, everybody.
No, what I'm saying is they cannot pay their mortgage, so therefore they can very well lose that rental property.
That'll be fine, somebody buy it.
Did you wish to?
Yeah, I would say at least raise it by a point, 0.52, just to show a modest increase. And then if we evaluate it next time, I just think that they should be paying more. The rental property is a business. I look at it as a business.
So can I just ask the question, do we ever look into this and raise it at all? I mean, we've never raised it, is what you're saying?
I think historically we've gone with the state's recommendation. So that's what's been done in the past, but
So is that 1.5 state recommendation coming from the state? Or is that, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out where do we come from with the 1.5?
I just made that up.
Okay, so that to me.
No, I want to raise it. And he said by how much? So I said a percentage rate.
well,
Probably needed.
point of order, let's have one person have the floor and speak at one time. So who was speaking last? I would say Councilmember McDonald.
So I think we should look at what the state rate is
That's it.
to be in terms of rental.
That's what he said. That's what he said.
So you're considering, but I'm still asking, where are you getting the 1.5? But that's a
I
number.
like to a 5.1, a 5%, not 1.5. It's a 0.1% more. So it's like instead of 0.04250, 0.05250. Just a modest increase, just to show, because we put a line item there for a reason.
Yeah, but it still has to be based on something. It's just that we can't just suggest that and it not be based on it being historical or it's coming from something that has already been recorded.
This
So
is a new line item that they put on the books back some time ago, because they had discussed increasing having rental property having a different tax base.
If I might, Mr. Jones, could you please interject and provide some more information here?
Yes, sir. The state, like she said, certified it at 0.4250. In order for this body to change that, we would have to go back to the drawing board and we have to have another constant yield tax rate hearing for the public to let them know that the tax rate was going up.
Mr. Best, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor. I'd also like to add that the General Assembly just repealed the constant yield tax rate law, but it doesn't take effect until October 1st. So you're stuck going through that procedure until October 1st.
And I might, Mr.
You mean, I have a question.
Just one moment. I'm going to let Mr. Kennedy speak first.
So I understand what you're saying. So basically, in essence, you want to raise the rented residential property tax higher than the commercial real property tax.
That was gonna be next.
I suggest we just leave it as is, and which would give us a lot more time to figure out what would be, yes, equitable for everyone.
And that has been going on for year after year after year after year. Leave as is. Because it's the 11th hour.
Thank you, Councilmember Brownson. Yes, it was email. So I would like to, I'm going to let you speak in just a minute, Mr. Jones, but I think that you can speak. Sorry. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Not to give unsolicited advice, but the easier route for us to probably take is to leave this constant yield tax rate and look at changing our legislation on the rental permit fee, which is also considered a revenue for the town.
Thank you, sir. I actually move that we table this resolution until a later time. I think that it maybe take some more, or could use some more study and discussion with the staff and Councilmember Brunson and maybe a few others. So I move that we table this resolution until the next regularly scheduled meeting on June 5th. Is there a second?
Second.
Actually, I got a question. Is this time sensitive where it has to get turned in?
Could I ask Mr. Jones or Mr. Best to speak on time sensitivity to pass?
We're
this
going the
resolution?
emergency ordinance route to pass the budget, then no. But if we are going to follow our standard practices, or haven't been our practices, but standard procedure, then it would need to be passed. However, either way, if we change it, we have to go back to the board and have a constant yield tax hearing with the public. So
But if it's kept the same as written, when does this have to be turned back in?
once the budget is passed, we have 15 days to certify the document and turn it into the state.
Mr. Best, did you like to add something here?
Yes, Mr. Acting Mayor. Statutorily, by law, the deadline is the end of the fiscal year. So it'd be June 30th, but because of the tax differential, the county requests that they know all the municipal tax rates the first week of June for their own purposes. They can't mandate the municipalities to do that, but as a courtesy, most municipalities try to comply with that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Could I ask one question of Attorney Best?
Oh, absolutely.
You mentioned something about October or something. What was that?
The General Assembly of Maryland this last session repealed the constant yield tax rate law that requires a procedure be followed before you elevate your tax rates above the constant yield. That law has, because it's confusing and has always been a source of friction and confusion, has been repealed. But the repealing doesn't take effect until October 1st. So right now, in this budget cycle, we're stuck with the old existing constant yield tax rate law.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question.
Councilmember Noble.
For purposes for the county, since June 1 is their courtesy deadline I propose that we stick with this and then we can schedule something like September for the following year and have the rates and have the treasurer run the numbers so we'll know what the difference would be for the town as far as revenue changing the rate. And then we will know what's a better rate or what did you say, 1.5 or whatever. Yeah. So that's what I propose.
So if you say it's for September, look at another rate, then you're gonna do what in September?
No, I'm saying that we will keep this, it will be effective next year, but we will have done the work ahead of time, done all the homework. What are the numbers? If we raise it by this, what will be the difference for the town? That would be something that the treasurer could do, that this will be a better rate, or look at comparables with other municipalities to see what their rates are. But I'm saying we will have enough time and notice to have a hearing that it could be effective on the next tax.
Okay, so one thing, is there another question on this? Because we have a motion on the floor. I want to make sure that we close before. Did you have a question, Councilmember Kennedy?
No, I just wanted to piggyback on what Councilwoman Noble was saying. Instead of waiting the day of to try and hash this out, I pretty much am seconding what she's saying to pass it as is. Don't wait until the 14th hour next year and then get some better stats on it and information. So that way we can make a best informed decision.
The motion on the floor, did you want to add a comment? The motion on the floor is to table this resolution until the next regularly scheduled meeting on June the 5th. That was my motion. But it sounds like the consensus of the council is going in the opposite direction.
Right, because we would not need to consider the discussion in the next meeting if we're talking about, waiting until the next cycle to consider it.
Okay. Well, I withdraw the motion to table. Is there a motion to I move that we adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded that we adopt resolution 47-23. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Any opposed?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I oppose. But you still haven't.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Hines,
No.
Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
Councilmember Browson,
No.
Councilmember McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Mayor Lily,
Yes.
motion passed. 4 yes, 2 no's.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we have resolution 48-23. It's a resolution to declare a vacancy in the office of the mayor and to call a special election to fill the vacancy. I move that we adopt resolution 48-23. Is there a second?
I second.
We don't have to. Discussion. I know that we had a discussion on a date, and in this resolution, I don't believe the date is specified, so
It has on or after June 14, 2020.
okay, but no
But no later
later
than
than June.
July
Okay,
10.
got it. But the date is actually. Question, Mr. Best. The date in the resolution is different than what what we determined was legally sufficient based on the charter. So we should amend the resolution to include the new date of June 16th.
Page 2. Just write it in, fill it in.
But do we need to change with the language that's in the resolution? Remarking about June 14th.
On or after.
If the question is, do you need to change, there are blanks on page 2 to fill in the date that you
Okay.
used. But as far as the exhibits A and B, they can remain intact and unchanged because there's this supplemental to the resolution.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
I guess for clarity, what is the difference, Mr. Betts, with the council finds that under 33-19 of the charter, the special election shall be held as soon as practical after the expiration of 45 days, but before the 60-day period runs and at least 5 business days shall pass subsequent to the announcement of the election and the cutoff for the submission of nominations. Is that different from the dates that is before? Or it coincides? I just want to make sure that it coincides with what the dates are and what the election, the special election being held as soon as practical.
The way the charter reads in section 3327, if there's a vacancy in the office of merit, then the town would have 45 to 60 days. It's a window of time to fill the seat if there are, I think it's more than 13 months left in the term of office of the mayor that left to create the vacancy. This is pretty much laid out to some degree. I wouldn't follow Exhibit A, but Exhibit B has most of the dates.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, I see. Thank you.
Sure.
45 days, but before 60. Got it.
Right. There's just a small snapshot
Mhm.
in time to, under the charter, to do the election.
Yeah.
Special election.
Thank you.
Sure. Chief?
If there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. One moment. We're gonna fill the date in as the vacancy. So in the section where it says, now therefore be it resolved and ordained that the town council hereby declares a vacancy in the office of mayor and calls a special election to fill the said vacancy, we're going to insert on the 20th day of June. And that is in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, in the 11th paragraph. Okay, so I move that we amend, I move that we amend resolution 4823, striking the reference to Exhibit A in the 11th paragraph and filling in the vacancy as the 20th day of June 2023. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Is there a second? I'm sorry. Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Jones, can you just add another comment about the dates?
Oh, for the third whereas. It does list that June 14, 2023 is the 45-day mark, which is incorrect. And that before July 10th, 2023, which is incorrect. So that should read. It's page 1 on the third whereas. Last sentence. Kevin, you said June 16th
That's right.
was the 45th day.
June 16th and June 30th.
Okay, so that was June 30th as the second reference date and June 16th. Okay. Okay, I move that we amend resolution 48-23, striking June 14, 2023 in the third paragraph and inserting June 16th, 2023, and striking July 10th, 2023, and inserting June 30th, 2023. Is there a second? I move that we amend resolution 48-23, striking June 14th, 2023 in the third paragraph and also July 10th, 2023, inserting June 16th, 2023, and inserting June 30th, 2023. And in the 11th paragraph, striking Exhibit A. And adding June 20th, 2023, adding the 20th day of June, 2023 as the election date.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it. I move that we adopt resolution 48-23 as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any further discussion? Any nays? Any opposed? Hearing none. Ayes have it. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy the second,
Yes.
Councilmember Browson,
Yes.
Councilmember McDonald,
Yes.
Mayor Lily.
Yes.
Motion passed, 6 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we have Resolution 49-23. This is a resolution of the mayor and council of the town of Forest Heights, appointing Mr. Marcus A. Jones as the interim town administrator. I move that we adopt Resolution 49-23.
Second.
All in favor? Yeah. My apologies. Discussion.
Yeah, I have a question. I thought Mayor Washington appointed him intern before he left.
There was not a formal resolution appointing Mr. Jones.
Oh, really? So he wasn't really the intern administrator for all that time?
So the mayor can appoint someone to serve in a role for a certain period of time without presenting this, but now we are going to leave him in this role for the period that we're going to allow him to remain in this role for the interim period.
Is the period indicated in here?
The period is indicated 90 days. And it
So-
shows the date when he became when he was effective immediately. He was appointed April the 11th, 2023.
So you backdated it to the time that the mayor appointed him?
Yes.
So I have a question. What is the status on recruitment?
At this time, I have decided to pause the recruitment of a new town administrator as we are in a transition period conducting an election, and we'll resume based on who becomes the new mayor.
Well, okay, wait, the position's been vacant for how long now?
It's been vacant for a while.
So you all never started an announcement for a position?
There was an announcement that was open and posted for the position of town administrator.
And what happened?
The position, I closed it as acting mayor because Mr. Jones has worked in the town and has knowledge of the town's operation as we're going through a budget adoption, an election cycle, and we have events that were already planned on the calendar, and we have capital projects that are ongoing. I made the decision that it was best to keep someone on board who has knowledge of the town and has been serving in the town as we carry out these projects until a time when we have more stability and more finality in our elected offices.
Yeah, but you can still announce the position because you got 90 days. So it takes that long to even find someone and hire someone.
Thank you for your opinion, Councilmember Bronson.
So I'm looking at I guess, the entire resolution. And we have a budget passed on June 22nd, line item 7013 reflected a salary of $84,208 for the town administrator. And line item 7402, salary deputy chief was appropriated as $80,235.25. Then we have the mayor and council found that Mr. Marcus Jones has the requisite experience, training, and knowledge to serve as interim town administrator. It is in the best interest of the town to employ, appoint, and thereby equitably compensate Mr. Marcus Jones as the interim town administrator with a salary of $116,459.20 to be equally divided between line items 7013 and 7402 until the council names a permanent successor. So there are 2 roles and 2 salaries. I'm just being clear.
There is the role of town administrator, and there is a different salary. So I'm confused as to the question.
I'm asking, there's two roles and there's two salaries. Is that what I'm understanding?
Would you like to answer that, Mr. Jones?
Yes, it's not customary that someone comments on their own resolution.
Okay, well,
However,
actually,
I
in
can-
that case,
Yeah.
Or can he?
in that case, Mr. Jones, let me get another person to answer that question.
I don't know if they can. Yeah, I don't know if he can.
Sure.
So basically what that's saying to come up with the amount compensation for being the interim town administrator is basically we're pulling monies from two different line items to cover that 116,000. Which would be line item 7402, salary for the deputy chief, and also the line item that was 7013 for the town administrator.
So I have a question. When did the salary for the town administrator get to be $116,459.20? When did that happen?
The council passed the merit pay scale in January. This body, by unanimous vote, passed the pay scale. The reason it's been adjusted is the reason it's being shared between two line items is because we're still in fiscal year 23. And fiscal year 24, that is the actual salary that's listed for that position.
Resolution for the town administrator first day on the job to make $116,459.20.
The town administrator is grade 13 in the pay scale. Step 1 is $116,459.30.
Are there any other steps for the town administrator?
There's step 1 through 20.
Wow, and each step goes up and up.
3%.
Is there a grade 12 or grade 11?
That's correct. That's my current salary as a deputy chief.
No, I'm talking about for this town administrator.
No,
So
the town administrator starts at grade 13, step 1.
So
It is the
there's no-
highest
Let
executive
me,
in our
point of
government.
order, please. One person speak at a time during this period of questioning.
We were speaking. Was someone else speaking?
Yeah, I think one person needs to speak at a time and let them finish their question or remark first, please. Thank you.
So what, so I can't ask him these questions. Is that what you're saying?
You can ask them the questions, but I just want to, this is not directed to you, Councilmember Brownson. I just want to make sure that only one person is speaking at a time.
But is that what was happening? Somebody else was speaking?
No, you all are speaking over each other. So this is to Mr. Jones as well. So Councilmember Brownson, finish the totality of your question and then I'll yield the floor to Mr. Jones to respond.
So I can't, so I asked the question, then you have to let him respond.
Yes.
I have no more questions.
Well, Councilmember Brownson, that's simply to make sure you get to finish your question and he knows when he has the floor. So I don't want you to not ask your question. I would like you to ask it.
I don't have.
Okay, well, point of order is simply to preserve decorum and make sure that conversation remains civil. That's the only point.
Civil, did you think it was uncivil, Mr. Jones? Thank you.
Councilmember Brownson, I invite you to continue your question.
I have no more questions.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to ask a staff member who's aware of this fact. I understand that the council approved a new pay scale. Was the pay scale officially enacted whereby those pay scales are now active and have the legal force of law?
If you will, Acting Mayor Lilly, I would like to speak on it. So
Yes, sir. Thank you.
In January, the town did want to enact a pay scale. So any new vacancies would have to be put into the merit pay scale so that it will be clear and concise of what the position would be and what grade they will come in. That happened in January, for Will. And so that's where all of the new positions, if you look back in any hiring resolutions, we would always reference that pay scale as a grade and step. if you understand.
I understand what you're saying.
I'd like for you to repeat it because I didn't get it all.
So give me a brief, I can actually pull up the resolution if you like, and if you want to, I guess, pause this. Yeah, so if you will, because O'Connor was actually one that did it.
Mr. O'Connor, would you like to speak to it?
Sure, Acting Mayor, not a problem. The chief actually gave a great summation. So basically, a merit pay scales were adopted. The purpose of the merit pay scale is to define the job description to a specific place on the pay scale for the compensation associated with that particular job. So the hiring resolutions after the merit pay scale was adopted, any employees that were hired were placed based on the job description into the merit pay scale for a particular grade and or step that was commensurate with their job qualifications. The reference that the council member is making and or the question may arise as to the step, what is it, grade 13, step 1 is based on the executive classification and the job requirements of what the actual town administrator does. I believe that placement came through finance and the previous mayor or Mayor Washington. Based on the qualifications and the comps for the town administrators from other jurisdictions as well.
Thank you, sir.
I have another question. Can we rescind that resolution?
Which resolution are you referring to, council member?
This pay scale.
Would you like to make that motion?
Yeah.
Mr. Acting Mayor, can I ask?
Yes,
you?
sir.
My understanding is that the pay scale that was approved by resolution in January this past was to take effect except for police officers at the beginning of this fiscal year, this coming fiscal year. Police officers, a resolution was adopted, I think, a month or two ago to ratify the pay increase for the police officers prior to the new fiscal year. So if you were to repeal the pay scales applicable to as they're applicable to the police officers, at least, because it's not yet applicable to the rest of the staff. You agree?
Yeah.
That it could be problematic because they're already that pay scale is already operational. It's being used. So that would be a hard thing to unwind.
Okay, so
at
if
this
that's
point.
the case, then that means that the acting town administrator is not eligible for this $116,000 until July 1st.
That's correct.
Okay, so this resolution is not correct.
With that being the case, I move that we amend the resolution 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Mr. Mayor, this resolution would actually adopt that portion of the merit scale for the town administrator ahead of the actual budget. I think Mr. Vest may be able to explain a little bit further, but that's what this does. So it, rather than waiting for the FY to start, this resolution denotes that timeline that says we're taking this step to make it effective immediately. So I think.
Well, I would like to amend the resolution to strike 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 6th paragraph. I'm making a recommendation that we leave the salary for the interim town administrator where it is currently. And I would like to adopt the new pay scale I would like to adopt the new pay scale in the way that we've approved it, which is at the new fiscal year. So I move that we strike 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 6th whereas. Sure.
Mr. Jones. Are you currently our interim town administrator?
I am, and I make more than the town administrator's salary currently, so I'm assuming that I won't be assuming this job.
Are you also still the deputy chief?
No, sir, I've not been doing those duties.
Okay, but as a interim town administrator, you've been busier?
That's an understatement.
Okay, so I think what the heart of this was to compensate him for the additional work that he's been doing. I understand, how it's hard to swallow sometimes the dollar figure, but this gentleman has been working pretty much around the clock. So do we want to have him not get compensated for the work he's putting in?
Councilmember McDonald.
I don't agree to that. I guess for me, I was just trying to get clarity. So are you saying then that the role of the deputy chief is not being performed by Mr. Jones? Mr. Jones, you're not performing as deputy chief?
I can answer that.
That was just for
Yes.
clarity for me. So I'm clear in my conscience as to what my vote should be.
Yes, ma'am. So when former Mayor Washington actually put him in that role, there were a plethora of projects that Deputy Chief Jones was doing. I do want to make it emphatically clear that he is still performing the tasks of the deputy chief in the police department that I run. And also in addition of the town's normal day-to-day business. I do want to make that clear.
Okay, so it wasn't clear because when the question was asked from Council Kennedy that, was he still performing?
Well, not in
Said
the
no.
new duties, but he still has other duties to close out as the deputy chief. We have been trying to lessen his plate of doing anything, but there were pertinent things that he had to complete. So he's been doing that in conjunction with the town.
Okay, and I see Mr. Jones, so it's not anything that I had to say about what as he performs his work. I'm just trying to get clarity so that I'm understanding the issue. Also, we want to, as a council, be mindful of recruitment. That should not fall to the valley. We need to have someone on board to take those roles and responsibilities.
I have a question that poses a great question. Thank you for comments, Mr. Kennedy and Ms. McDonald. So Chief Jones, Chief Reese, are you in the process of recruiting another person to serve as deputy chief?
No, since he's in an interim state.
Well, if we approve the resolution, will you be?
If this body was to so choose him to be the permanent, yes, I would, but
But he'll be serving both roles while interim.
Is he getting paid?
no, it'd just be a conflict. I wouldn't suggest.
Councilmember Noble.
Just a question, is there another officer that can perform the deputy chief's duties?
So we've been,
Interim.
so in vacancies like that in the police department, what we do is just shift up. So Captain Forster, he's been kind of taking the duties of Deputy Chief Jones in the interim period. We don't know how long that may be, so that's why we're just kind of just waiting to see what this body may do.
Will he be given the salary of the deputies?
You can ask. Would you like to ask a question, Councilmember Hines?
Yes.
Pull your mic towards you as well so the audience can hear you.
My question was, you just said Captain Forster is going to be acting as deputy or doing some of the, will he be getting the salary or, to compensate him also? I mean, is this how we do it now?
No, so right now, nothing has changed, only just the job duties.
So just one.
Councilmember McDonald.
Thank you. One quick question. So I'm just looking at the budget detail for town administrator salary. And it's 115. And as opposed to the amount that's in the resolution. Am I reading something different? Help me out.
Well, ma'am, the budget that's in the budget is in the packet has not been adopted currently. It's a proposed budget, but is anyone like to speak to the difference in the number?
The version I'm looking at from today says 116,459.20. The version from
The new.
the May 10th meeting did say 115, and that's because the finance office didn't put everybody in the scale like they were supposed to.
Thank you.
And if I might ask a question of the council, at this time, of course, it's my recommendation that we assign or we select Mr. Jones as the interim town administrator. I just want to understand where the issue is. Is it with the pay? Is it with it being enacted now before the fiscal year begins?
It's not with the pay for me as it is the responsibility of the council to recruit someone in that role. That's what my focus is. So it's more administrative than it is focused on the salary.
Anyone else care to add comments?
So my comment is he still doing deputy chief work, or is he still getting paid as deputy chief?
Mr. Chief Reese, could you answer that question, please?
Yes, nothing has changed. He has his he's still getting paid as deputy chief. So this council has not changed his duties officially. So he's getting compensation as just been as the deputy chief during the town administrator roles.
Okay.
Last question.
Absolutely, council member.
So it is in his rights to do both, right? I mean, it's not a conflict of interest for him to do both?
Yeah, according to the charter, a police officer or an officer of the town, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Best can perform dual duties as appointed by the council.
Are you overwhelmed, Captain Jones?
Mr. Jones?
Oh, okay. The chief and Captain Forrester have been pretty good about removing the day-to-day stuff. If it's anything with my like capital projects that are going on at 5410, I still deal with those, but I can deal with those as a town administrator, not necessarily deputy chief, because I have to keep that person informed anyway of what's going on. So.
I guess the question came, oh, go ahead.
I do want to add this. It is, if you may, if
Mr. Chief Reese, just one moment.
Yes.
Ask your question.
I guess I wanted to give Mr. Best the opportunity, because the question was, is it legal and in right standing that he performs both of those opportunities?
The short answer is yes. There was a time when the charter forbid dual offices or dual positions in the town. The Constitution of Maryland has always, since 1850, prohibited dual offices of profit. But the chief, the Maryland Constitution has an exception for notary publics, for police officers, for medical personnel or fire personnel, and so does the town. So there's not a charter violation for a police officer, a sworn officer such as the Mr. Jones, to also serve as in a civilian position. That's not a problem under your charter anymore. That was amended out, I want to say 8 years ago or thereabouts. So I think what you really, as a matter of recommendation, if I may, is need to determine what's an equitable salary, because he was paid at a decent level as deputy, and now he's doing more arduous work, so to speak. And, you know, should he be compensated, or do you wait until the fiscal year when the pay scale that you already approved kicks in? Mr. Acting Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I have one more question. if we approve him as interim, that means he's gonna not be getting paid from the deputy chief position anymore. That's what you're saying.
It's
Mr. Jones, could you answer
Mayor.
that?
The resolution calls for the salary of 116,459.20 to be equally divided between both line items per se. So the deputy chief and the town administrator. And the reason for that is because in FY 23, the budget is only appropriated for 84,000, whereas the deputy chief, through ratification of the resolution last month, is budgeted at 101,200.
Is there any other discussion? Did you have a question, Councilmember Hines? Okay. So, I definitely 100% believe that we need to keep Mr. Jones as the deputy town administrator, interim town administrator. He is doing both roles. However, we have a decision to make about whether that pay increase starts now or starts later. Councilmember Brownson, do you have an opinion on
I
that?
thought he just said it's coming from different line items, so it's coming from the line item with the current pay
So-
scale and his deputy chief pay scale.
So I'm just checking for understanding. You
That was
concur,
my understanding of it.
but you concur. You're okay with that?
Yeah, because he's getting paid from both line items, and it's not just the fiscal year 24 administrative salary.
Well, with that, I offered an amendment. Mr. Best, would you like to add something else?
I apologize for yet again interjecting, but the chief reminded me of an important thing that is would be appended to the councilwoman's question. Is there's another doctrine of law that applies. It's called the common law doctrine of incompatibility of positions. Until today, I was not aware that the acting town administrator was continuing to serve as deputy chief. That would be the dual offices and dual positions regulation, if you will, in the charter is not applicable here because he's a sworn officer. But the common law rule against incompatible position would apply. And as if I just found out tonight that he's still doing the deputy chief positions because he answers to the chief as a deputy chief, and yet the chief answers to him as the acting town administrator. That's incompatible under the common law. So that separate doctrine would have to kick in. So he'd need to relinquish that role as deputy chief, and someone needs to be specifically named as his replacement as a sworn officer in the Forest Heights Police Department. Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Best. Chief Reese, are you prepared at this time to name someone as a replacement?
But more importantly, I can ask something. More
Yes, ma'am.
importantly, is Mr. Jones willing to give up his deputy chief position to take an interim position that's not permanent? That's another question I would ask.
Councilmember Kennedy.
I think what was stated earlier is his previous duties as the deputy chief is being taken care of by Captain Forrester and probably other people who are stepping up to assist the chief. That would also be an interim or a temporary thing, because unless, it would be silly if we were in his shoes, we're not going to step down from
We're not silly and we're not in his shoes.
well, I have the floor, so I'm making a statement.
Yeah, I'll make this what I said. I'm not silly.
So I'm making a statement. Do you want the floor?
It's right there, anybody can have it.
That's very mature.
Call it what you want.
So as the interim town administrator, that's what we're talking about. As Councilwoman McDonald had mentioned, I don't believe anyone who would have a problem putting this out for RFP to find a permanent one, and we never know. Mr. Jones may apply himself and we may appoint him as the permanent one. Thank you.
Was there additional comment being offered from staff? I know I had Mr. Kennedy speak. Mr. Best?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I think the answer is question in the last, be it further resolved clause. It basically says that the appointment should be deemed temporarily or probationary for 90 days, starting May 17th. And should a different town administrator get ultimately appointed, then Mr. Jones can either resign or go back to his previous position as deputy chief. Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor.
Thank you, sir. So, any other discussion? With that being the case, I'm going to withdraw my earlier offered motion to strike the 1, 2, 3, 4, the seventh 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the sixth whereas, and I move that we adopt this resolution 49-23. Question, Mr. Best, do we need to specify the person who's going to serve in the role of deputy chief? Given your last comment.
Not for the purposes of the four corners of this resolution.
Okay, that's what I
Mr.
thought.
Acting Mayor.
So I move that we adopt resolution 49-23.
Second.
Madam Clerk,
Yes, sir.
please call the roll.
Yes. Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy, the second,
Yes.
Councilmember Brownson,
No.
Councilmember McDonald,
Yes.
Mayor Lily,
Yes.
motion passed. 5 yes, 1 no.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we have on the agenda Resolution 50-23, a resolution to amend the fiscal year 2023 budget of the town of Forsyth Heights, Maryland, to reappropriate funding for the Finance Department AR/AP staff accountant position for the remainder of fiscal year 2023. I move that we adopt Resolution 50-23. Discussion. Sorry.
Second.
Discussion. So I will just add some commentary here. We recently brought on a new treasurer, Mr. McKenzie, who is online. Mr. McKenzie is getting up to speed with helping us produce a new budget and getting acclimated with the town's finances, the many grants and capital projects that we have going on. We see the need, and we have found that there is sufficient finance available to bring on in a part-time role someone to handle accounts payable and accounts receivable. And this resolution is allowing us to adjust the budget to do that for the rest of the fiscal year. So this would just be into the end of fiscal year 2023. Mr. Jones, can you provide a little more commentary on this as well?
Yes, sir. Thank you. When we hired Mr. McKenzie, our new town treasurer, the funds that were allocated in the APAR staff accounting position were transferred over to the town treasurer's salary to meet the new requirement of the resolution. So we have Mr. McKenzie needs someone to do AP right now for him to make sure that the town's bills are kept up with while he's trying to pick up where the audits left off from the financial consultant, as well as trying to find his way through finances, the finance department. So we went through the budget, through the third quarter report to find out where we could move the money back to or move it from back to the APAR position. So we proposed decreases in the mayor's service expense, the town administrator's dues, meetings and conventions, and the community garden, all of which have not been used in this FY, which ends in about 45 days. That will move $14,000 back into the APAR staff accounting position. We did some math earlier this week, and those would also cover the FICA cost and things like that. They're not benefits eligible because they would be part-time. So if the council is so moved to approve this budget amendment tonight, then this position will be posted tomorrow to start getting applicants and interviews.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Councilmember Noble.
Just a question. I see for the proposed budget, that same position will be full-time.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
It's refunded in fiscal year 24.
Councilmember Hines.
You said it's going into community gardens. How is that being affected? I mean, what is it taken away from?
The community garden actually is appropriated for $10,000 in fiscal year 23. They have not used 1 cent of that monies. And when we speak to them, they purchase everything on their own. They're kind of self-sufficient. But we left $5,000 in that line item just in case something comes up in the next 45 days. But it's highly unlikely, looking at the actuals for the past couple fiscal years, the community garden rarely ever touches their money. So.
Any other discussion?
I guess I'm just trying to understand. I thought that the community garden, is this where the irrigation system needed to be in place? And the lady, what's her name again? Miss Kathy came and she said that she needed some support and things of that nature. So we have money that can't be used. I guess I'm just trying to get clear.
Mr. O'Connor, could you speak to the funds being used for the water being provided at the community garden, please?
Sure. The extent of the work that was there far superseded any of the monies that was there to support the community garden. So those funds that the interim town administrator is speaking about is to support the project, not the actual construction that we're doing. That was American Rescue Plan money that actually funded the irrigation and construction and tying into the water main so they could have water there. So 2 separate pots of money. That $10,000 just point blank wouldn't even scratch the surface of what was needed to get that water in there.
So having said that, Ms. O'Connor, where is that project?
They have placed the link and pump and repatched the roadway. And I believe they're waiting on an inspection. Yes, they are. They're waiting on one inspection from WSSC to finish the link, and then they'll be able to go ahead and run everything else. That's all they're waiting on right now. They finished that up. Unfortunately, we're at the behest of WSSC and their inspections to get everything fully up and running. But it's almost there.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Any further discussion? Mr. Kennedy.
So this APAR staff accountant position is going to be permanent heretofore with?
Mr. Jones.
I'm sorry, Councilman, I missed.
So this is a permanent position that we're going to continue year after year?
Correct. We will afford if the council approves the FY24 budget with the person, with that salary being full-time, the person will have the opportunity to apply for the full-time position.
Okay, and this isn't just until we get caught up with the budget?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. The only reason I'm asking is because this is the highest salary we've ever paid a treasurer, obviously. Once the budget is caught up, we still need a person to do accounts payable receivable?
Mr. Jones, can you answer that?
Yes, sir. Once the treasurer, I'm gonna stop using names. Once the treasurer gets in place and puts all the policies, procedures, and controls in place, we will reanalyze the workload at that time to see if it's a position that we need to continue with, or if it needs to be transferred to some other type of accounting or finance position.
Council members, this is Don
Mr.
McKenzie.
Mr. McKenzie, did you want to add a comment?
So when you're doing accounting, you cannot have the same person doing accounts payables and accounts receivables because it's a violation and actually the city can get in trouble and you're setting up yourselves for fraudulent activities. So it's definitely needed for those two positions to be separated. And it should be permanent also because of the fact that you're dealing with two different, you're talking about someone collecting and someone paying the bills. Those needs to be separated, and it is in any accounting department, that is the bare bone of what's necessary to run just the smallest of accounting departments. So I definitely need that kind of structure to be able to run and create efficiency. You can't, I'm understanding that you guys are annexed in other places. You can't bring on annexation when you don't have a proper processes in place where you have the right employee to be able to from a financial perspective do the work. And that's one of the reasons why you probably see a lot of issues going on, because you don't have the right people in place. And I think it's the right thing to consider that accounts receivable and accounts payable, and also a HR person, because that's desperately needed. I just wanted to put that little piece in there. I mean, you can discuss it among yourselves based on the suggestion that I'm making right now.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. Councilmember Hines, do you have something?
Well, I mean, in listening to what Mr. McKenzie was saying, we were doing it wrong. Okay, so we're in violation or something? I mean.
Would you like to ask Mr. McKenzie a question?
Were we doing, I mean, so we were doing it wrong?
It's not a matter of doing wrong. The work was being done, but you can literally lose out on grants because of the fact that you don't have the right structure in place. As a matter of from SOX compliance, I know you're not subjected to SOX because you're not publicly traded, but you still should live by the rules where an accounts receivable person should not be doing payables. Payroll person should not be doing receivables. Those set us up for fraudulent activities. And so that's the whole case about that's the basic rules in the accounting. It's not that you're doing wrong. It is that you have enough money, funds that's coming in at a certain level that needs this kind of structure.
Thank you.
Who is currently doing our payroll?
It's being done by the police department. There's a number of persons who are voluntarily doing it. So I think you need to discuss it with the current administrator as to the actual touches. I'm new, so I don't want to assume anything. What I know is that right now we need to get it structured.
Right, because the way I'm perceiving what you're saying is we need two different people, one for accounts receivable and one for accounts payable.
Yes, you do.
If
one
I
is collecting,
might,
one is collecting and one is paying. You said you find yourself with that person doing both. You're setting up yourself for someone fraudulent activities.
Mr. McKenzie, is it correct that by funding this position full-time in the full fiscal year of FY24, that it would be two part-time roles, one part-time person for accounts payable, one part-time person for accounts receivable, and together collectively that
the payroll, the person that does the payables can do the payroll, can assist with the payroll because it's paying out. But the one who's doing the receivable should not be doing the same thing.
Understood, but I'm really trying to get to the heart of the fact that we may be including two bodies in the fiscal year 2024 budget, but they will not be two full-time positions. There'll be two part-time positions. Right.
They can, because it's not like you guys have a big, huge municipality. So yes, those two persons can be part-time, but we have to use them efficiently to get what we're trying to accomplish. Because it's not a big, I mean, that salary is going to be split between two people. And I can guarantee you'll get some good people that will work part-time to get that done. But we have to make sure we're efficiently using them to get what we need to get done.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion on resolution 50-23? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Councilmember McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Browson,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy II,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
Mayor Lily.
Yes.
Motion passed, 6 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Our next piece of legislation is the Town of Forest Heights Annexation Resolution number 02-2023. This is a resolution regarding the annexation of privately owned land within the McDaniel subdivision and located at 5410 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, 20745, parcel 10, 1.454 acres into the corporate territory of the Town of Forest Heights, the 11th extension. A municipal annexation resolution to approve the annexation of one parcel of land being 1.454 acres of land, more or less, located in the 12th election district, 8th councilmanic of Prince George's County, and located north and east of the present corporate limits of the Town of Forest Heights, near Livingston Road and Indian Head Highway, Maryland 210, into the corporate territory of the Town of Forest Heights, providing for the terms and conditions of the annexation to the Town of Forest Heights, amending the charter of the Town of Forest Heights for the purposes of including the annexed property within the legal descriptions and plats depicting the corporate limits of the town, and generally all matters relating to said annexation. I move that we adopt annexation resolution number 02-2023.
Second.
Discussion?
With this annexation and then their businesses, that's where the police department is now, right?
Can someone answer that question? Please, staff, Mr. Jones, could you answer that?
Yes, ma'am.
So their businesses there, will we get some tax out of this annexation?
Yes, ma'am. So the property is owned by Mount Joy Baptist, which is a tax exempt entity. However, there are businesses housed within the 5410 property. So we would get tax revenue, real property, commercial real property rates from them and their business license fees when they're incorporated into the town.
Thank you.
I just had one quick question.
Yes, absolutely.
This might sound weird, but in parentheses, it has 8 councilmanic. Like, is that a typo?
No, 8th councilmanic means we're in the District 8. We have a council member from the county and we fall in the 8th district of the county. That's all that means, councilmanic district.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know we're in that district, but I just wanted to know about that councilmanic. Okay.
Mhm. No, that's Mr. Best, if you will.
Yeah, it's a little bit funny. Has nothing to do with mental health. It's just a word that's been in a dictionary for hundreds of years.
Thank you, Mr. Beck.
If there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, yes, sir. Councilmember McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Browson,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy II,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
Mayor Lily.
Yes.
Motion passed, 6 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Our last item of legislation tonight is ordinance 03-23. An ordinance of the town of the mayor and council of the Town of Forest Heights, Maryland, to approve and adopt the fiscal year 2024 budget resolution. I move that we table this resolution until our next regularly scheduled meeting on June the 5th. And this is to give adequate time for more substantive changes to be made to the budget before it's adopted.
Second.
Discussion.
Are we gonna discuss the budget again before the resolution, or you said it give time to substantive changes? Some changes are already in the works, or we're gonna make changes? What do you mean by that?
To give time for council members if they would like to make changes. I have some changes that I think I'll be proposing.
Are we gonna do that today, or just send it someone? How's that gonna work?
Well, do you have any changes you'd like to offer today?
Well, I have some questions. And well, one of the questions I had was, I have several questions, and I was wondering when would we get a chance to discuss that?
Well, you can ask your question tonight if you'd like to. Or you can email the treasurer or the town administrator.
So, but one of the things I have been, just some of them I'll try to address tonight. When we talked about the AP AR staff attorney. You said there's gonna be staff, I'm sorry, attorney Best. You said there are gonna be 2 part-time positions. And so in the budget line item, it has 1 position, and I guess at the salary is just full-time. So are we gonna put a line item for 2 part-time staff accountants?
I think that is a good idea.
That's item 7275. And then I have a question about this.
And is this the form?
I'm sorry.
And we'll just.
Right, can this be an accounts payable? That's a title, accounts payable person or accounts receivable person. Because when you say staff accountants, that's given, another type of certification or degree or something like that, which requires more money.
Or you're saying the line item,
Instead of being
you'd like to make a change to the title of the line item?
Yes. I mean, that's a suggestion.
Okay.
And then what is the ARPA fund expenditure? What is that?
Mr. McKenzie, are you online to answer a question, sir?
Yes, I'm here.
I'm trying to get the definition for the ARPA fund expenditure.
So the AP means accounts payable.
Mr. McKenzie, I think she said the ARPA, the ARPA fund.
Yeah, ARPA fund expenditure. Line item 9085.
As you know, I'm very new in the organization. So if you see an acronym there, I think Marcus would be the one to really let you know what the meaning of those. I'm still getting familiar with those acronyms.
Yes, the first page of the.
Right. And as soon as I get
Mr.
familiar with
O'Connor.
those acronyms, I will definitely put the definition out. I will not allow acronyms to be there without
Yeah,
a meaning. But as it is right now, I'm just going through familiarizing myself with these acronyms, and I will make more clarity on those. So those questions will be easily answered.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. Mr. O'Connor, can you answer the question on the ARPA fund purpose?
American Rescue Plan allocation, ARPA funding.
So what does that mean as far as an expenditure
It means monies that have been expended from ARPA.
for 2024? I thought it ended in.
It's
2020.
proposed. So what it is they're proposing those funds to be expended in FY 24 versus the actuals of what was spent in FY 23. So it's the budgeted amount is there showing what the American Rescue Plan allocation funding remaining is for FY 24.
Didn't that fund, wasn't it a 2-year grant?
No, actually the up to FY 26. All right, so the money you have until FY 24 to actually December of 2024, not FY 24,
Okay.
to have the actual plan in place. Most municipalities are just using FY 24 as the placeholder, but and then FY 26 to actually spend the funds completely for your final report.
Okay, so what is this $700,000 allocated for?
Right now, it is not particularly allocated to any individual project. Does have administrative costs that are associated with the 700,000, but as the projects come up, they'll be brought to mayor and council through the town administrator for approval.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Councilmember McDonald.
So our last meeting, we discussed one of the employees was left off of the budget and that the treasurer was going to give us, I forgot the term that he used, but he was going to give us a complete list to include all of the salaries for the employees.
I'll speak to that. Actually, what happened at that meeting is I asked for department heads to get with the treasurer and give him a full list of their employees' salaries. And Mr. Jones, acting town administrator, did that, confirmed with Mr. McKenzie yesterday. So he received a full list of those who were employed within the town and their salaries.
Okay.
Including any vacant position, what do we have in?
That's a question for Mr. Jones.
Yes, ma'am. The vacancies were on there.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
All right, there's no other discussion. We will move on. We're going to revisit this particular resolution at our next regularly scheduled meeting, which will be on June the 5th, 2023. That concludes legislation for tonight. Was there a question? Okay. At this time, is there any new business?
Oh, I just have one statement. So you said that we can look at this to the next meeting and then send out questions to everybody.
Well, you can't send it to everybody, but you can,
And the town administrator and the.
yeah, you can
treasurer.
direct questions and suggestions, yes, and we'll revisit at the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay,
Can
thank you.
I would like to make a suggestion that whoever is leading the finance committee, that we meet before the next meeting so that we can look through the budget and have any questions that we might have or concerns to bring to that discussion before the meeting. So whoever is the lead of the finance committee, I'm not sure who that
It's-
person is.
Currently, it's me.
Okay. Okay, Mayor, that's just a suggestion.
Yeah,
Thank
we'd
you.
like to, well, the finance committee can have a meeting in between now and then to discuss changes to the budget,
Mhm.
potentially. Let's see what our timeline looks like for that. We have on our schedule. Today's the 17th. We've got a week in between, and then the final week of May. We've got the 31st. Madam Clerk, are you online? Can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Can
Yes, sir.
yes, we are looking for scheduling a date for a finance committee meeting to just, let me see here. Are we looking at Wednesday, May the 31st? Or would you like to do it next week?
May 31st is, it works for me. I'm not sure if anybody else.
What kind of meeting is this?
Well, that's why I'm gonna ask the clerk to advertise that meeting,
31st.
May 31st.
This is an official meeting, this committee, but you're announcing that in case it's more than 3 people.
Yes. So the committee is made up of 3 council members. Myself, council member. Do we have a do we have a record of who's on the finance committee? Is there a staff person who knows who's on the finance committee? Okay. Is there a suggested time? I'm thinking 6:30.
I'm sorry, the list I was provided is from last cycle.
We were given a document that had all of the committee leads and the persons. So this was like around March.
If we don't have it on file now, we can offline discuss and determine a date. Once we're able to determine exactly who's on the committee, who needs to be there, and we can publish that if need be at a later date. All right, well, that concludes legislation for tonight. Is there any new business from Ward 1?
Yes, I would like to share with the council something that we might want to consider as a resolution specifically to the beautification committee. And that is to perhaps consider looking into a resolution to address individuals cooking, grilling on the front of their properties. It becomes an issue for safety, the residents, people riding by. And then the whole community thinks that it's okay to just pull out their grill and grill out front. And to me, it could pose a hazard. So that's something that I wanted to bring to the beautification committee and the council to consider.
Thank you, Councilmember McDonald. I don't have anything new at the moment. We've covered items that I wanted to address. Ward 2, any new business?
Well, I do want to announce that I just took the certification to CPR EMS AED training, and I'm certified for 2 years. So if you need someone, I am available. It's great.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ward 3, any new business?
Pretty much June 10th for Ward 3, we're asking residents come out and bring their concerns and their comments and suggestions and light lunch. We'd love to have you.
What's happening?
It's a meet and greet from 1 to 3. I believe that's light lunch.
Is there an advertisement that's gone out for this?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
This is the second time I've announced it, but flyers will be going out, yeah.
Okay, so flyers haven't gone out yet.
Not yet.
Okay, they will be going out though. Give me that date again.
June 10th.
Okay.
1 to 3 p.m. Light lunch.
What day is it? Saturday.
And this is just a Ward 3 gathering.
Yes, it is.
It's being spearheaded by Ward 3.
It's up here. All are welcome.
I'm going to let Councilwoman Hines repeat the details again. You said,
It's.
give it to Mr. Jones.
Newton's from 1 to 3. Yes, it's Saturday, June 10th. All are welcome.
Thank you.
That's here.
What'd you say? He says
That's here.
Yes, I'm sorry. I thought I said that. It's up here. Light lunch, refreshments being served. Yes, up here.
The only thing I want to add is that this is National Police Week, and I want to thank our Forest Heights Police Department. They were very responsive at 2:00 in the morning on Cree Drive, so I appreciate it. And just want to thank them for all their hard work, and we want them to stay safe and continue to see them throughout the town. Thank you.
Ditto.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for those in the public who attended tonight and for your comments, for the staff that's here. The time is now 9:57 and this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you.